And so I'm leaning over him and I didn't give up. I like gave in. It is the way I feel like it. You give it up to God, And I whispered in his ear and I said, if you can't do this anymore, if this is too hard, if it's too painful, we'll be okay. And you go be a warrior with Jesus. It was time for me to give up control. And from there forward, everything was different.
Welcome back to the Sunshine Cafe. I'm Lisa Roers, your host, and hey, thanks for joining me today. I'm here just to pour some positive back into your day with practical tips and stories to encourage and inspire. So let's dive in. Hello and welcome back to the Sunshine Cafe. I'm Lisa Roers, your host. And the Sunshine Cafe is all about pouring positive back into the world. And we do that because life throws so many different wrenches into our systems that it's really hard to know which way to turn sometimes. And I think it's always helpful to hear different stories from people that just encourage us and help us understand people who have gone through tough things and come out the other side with actionable steps that we can take today to make our own lives better. So today I have a really special guest with me, Melissa Hampton, who is owner and operator of Hampton Wealth Management. And she's got a beautiful story from business to family to some actionable things that we can all look at and implement today. So I want to just start with a nice warm welcome to you, Melissa. Thank you for being on the program.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. And you probably don't get the thanks back enough, but this is just so amazing that you offer this platform to share these stories and help so many people. So I'm happy to be just a tiny sliver of that. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. That's very kind of you to say. We had a nice introductory conversation. We got to learn a little bit more about what you do from your work side as far as helping out people on the wealth management and estate planning and all that. But why don't you just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I say that we optimize wealth for people through financial planning and investment management in order for them to live more fulfilling lives and create legacies. So that's like the marketing side of what I do, right? Like that's what you'll see on my website. But the financial world is so confusing. So what do we actually do on a day-to-day basis? I manage investment portfolios. That's what I spend a lot of my time doing. So that's buying, selling, trading on the market. Those portfolios can be anything from investment accounts, retirement accounts, 401k plans. So that's one pillar of service that we offer, and traditionally a lot of what the financial industry offers. The other side, which has come into play a lot more recently because retirement planning has been more of a need, um, is financial planning. So, financial planning is where we evaluate your whole umbrella of your financial world in order to decide if, when, and how you're going to meet your financial goals, and then giving you options to do that so that it feels really good to you and your family. So, lots of different aspects in financial planning, from investment management, retirement planning, savings. But estate planning, like I will share with you a little bit later, is one of those aspects that I'm really passionate about. And it really just is very rewarding for me to walk people through that and see what they can do with some planning.
That's amazing. We all
Yeah.
need that. It's like the
Right.
underlying foundation of what everybody needs. Like,
Right.
you can't live without finances, and you need someone. Sometimes some of us are better at managing finances than others. Like, I don't
Right.
know if I put myself in the expert column, but we all need help with it. So I'm glad you're offering that service.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it's funny because usually, like you said, like usually there's one person in a relationship that's better at handling finances. Sometimes we come to the point where neither are very good, and then I just step in and I'm a little more active. But it's such a foreign world to people, and I think that they're really intimidated to even start those conversations. Or, I know sometimes it even takes a lot for them to come into my office and just lay it all out there. So I'm trying to make it less intimidating and more approachable for people.
That makes a lot of sense. How did you get into that world?
So I've been a financial advisor for almost 7 years, and I started that journey in one of the major corporate firms. And so I was recruited, I was an employee, and really built my business from scratch. It's kind of funny, but I live in the Midwest, so it is safe to do this still, but knocking on every door, every neighborhood, getting to know people. And I was really just blessed to accumulate clients that needed more planning. Like they
Mm.
were just really quality people that I absolutely loved, and they needed more planning. So that's kind of what led me to the direction of going this way in the independent world. Before that, I was an accountant and an entrepreneur. I opened many businesses in the area and had my master's in business education. And I recently just obtained my certified financial planning certification. So that was huge. And it opened up my mind to everything that we should be and can be helping people with, and really just drove that passion even further. So I always say, like, where I'm at today, even through all of those different steps, is this beautiful mesh of experience, because I love what I do so much.
Yeah, well, that shows. I know people are also some people are listening to this episode and some people are watching it, but if they see you, they can see that you just light up when you start talking about it. So it's clear that you're in the right space.
Well, thank you. I have had clients say that, like we review their investments and that's kind of boring to them. Then we start talking about financial planning. And I had a client stop me and he said, "You're literally bouncing in your seat. Like you actually like this." Like,
Exactly.
yes, I do. I do. So,
Yeah.
yep.
Now, it's hard to go out on your own and do something all on your own. And you were working for another corporation at some point, and then you decided to go on your own. What kind of gave you the license to pivot?
Mhm. Yeah, so a lot of things actually. So I wasn't able to do financial planning at that corporate level as an employee. And that was really what people needed, especially when we're working on more complex situations. I needed to be able to actually give them advice. I had a situation with my son, which we will maybe dive into next, but where it just completely rocked my life and changed how I viewed my time spent in my career.
Mm.
So I think it's really relatable to a lot of people. I went through a divorce, started over, and my option was to hit the hamster wheel hard. Like I'm a single mom, I gotta pay my bills. And not only that, but like I want to create an amazing life for my kids. So I really jumped on that corporate hamster wheel,
Mm.
and it worked. I doubled my income every year for a handful of years. But my health was suffering. I was working 7 days a week. At the end of the day, I was still working for someone else that took the majority of my income. And I realized at a point when I was going through this with my son that if the tables were reversed and something happened to me, all of that hard work and everything that I had grown from scratch, if I died, it was going to another advisor. It wasn't going to my family.
Mm.
And that like really struck a chord with me that I want to be able to put my efforts into something that I have control of, that I can help clients with the best way that I see fit. So there was just a point where after this experience with my son, I just realized this is not where I can thrive and my family can thrive, but also where I can help my clients best.
Yeah, because really you can do business on your terms then, and you can dive into the planning thing, which is the thing that lights you up and really makes you happy. So,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, when we're tying all of this together, like the health and wealth, like we talked about, they're so intertwined together. So when we visit about this, we'll realize that if I hadn't had my own financial plan in place, it would have been a disaster for my family. And then I realized, oh yeah, and I need an estate plan. Whoops. Going through all of this. So it really does go hand in hand. Like we always say in this world, we expect the best, but we prepare for the worst. And that's part of my job. So we'll see
right.
that pretty clearly.
Yeah. Boy, estate planning is something that we don't take seriously enough. And if anybody's out there has, lost a parent or lost a spouse who didn't have an estate plan, you really understand quickly how valuable it is because there's so like the best gift you could give your spouse or any loved one is an estate plan because the decisions that they don't have to make and the hoops that they don't have to jump through after you're gone are just so much more helpful.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that is, that's part of it. I've walked clients through a lot of that. One of my very first clients, and he's, I have so much love for my clients. So if you are a client and you're out there listening, you know how much I love you. But his wife passed away. He had, I think, 25 different accounts between hers and between his. And we're walking him through that while he's mourning his wife. And it is just hard. Like it's hard enough as it is. As much as we can do now, the better, for everyone. And that's when someone passes away. But I can give you some examples of really beautiful things we've done, like in the now. So I had clients that I absolutely adore. They don't have children. They're very well off financially. And instead of planning their estate to their nieces and nephews, they wanted to plan their estate to the university and specifically women's sports. And so if I wouldn't have been in their lives, I don't know where they would have gone with that. Maybe they would have waited, maybe they would have never done it, but I knew it was something that was on their mind. So, we kept talking about it, kept talking about it. And finally, I'm like, we're just going to go to the university and I'm going to meet you there and we're going to start this conversation. And they set it up. And so there will be millions of dollars in their legacy that goes to support scholarships for women in athletics. And that's beautiful. And they're young. So they will continue to support the university over the next 20 years, but their legacy will continue to live on.
Yeah. Well, and it continues to pay dividends both literally and figuratively throughout the rest of their life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. That's, what we call generational wealth. And small changes that you can make now can create massive change later. So,
Yes. All right. So you introduced an interesting conversation because you had said about how wealth and health are intertwined.
mhm,
And it is such a true thing. When our health starts to deteriorate, it's the wealth that sustains us during those times of struggle. So
right.
tell us a little bit about that side of your story.
Yeah, with my son.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And no, that's so true. I mean, so without one or the other, I mean, it's really hard to enjoy the other, right?
Mhm.
But that's where we come in, to the financial conversation a lot is how do we prepare for those instances? Like sometimes it's long-term care, sometimes it's a disability if you're out of your job. So part of my preparation, I wouldn't have probably been financially prepared for this if I were in the financial field, because I had already started that journey. I had a savings account. I had funds set aside to pay my deductible. I carry insurance for my kids. Um, but we'll go into $3 million later into medical expenses where I paid my deductible because I had insurance and I had funds to do that. I was also like really blessed to have reoccurring income. So when people are really thinking about recreating their lives, what their career looks like if you can step away from your career and you're still making income, that's very important. I mean, it's really rewarding too. You have to take steps to get there, obviously. And mine were that I really cared about my clients and I had really supportive clients. And so they knew what I was going through. So to start this from the beginning, it was 2022. So my son was 7 years old at that time. And he had what we thought was the flu all week. I was home with him. We didn't sleep well. Friday was Good Friday. And I finally took him into the emergency room and they did a CT scan. His stomach hurt really bad. They did a CT scan and there was fluid. So they just assumed it was um, appendicitis. So he goes in for surgery, remove the appendix, but he continued to deteriorate. So we were, walking him down the hall. He was vomiting and the other side as well. Um, it was not a good situation. Also, it was Easter. So, like, if you ever have elective surgery, don't go in on holidays. Like, let's just make that clear.
Exactly.
People, which I'll go back to like offer forgiveness to this situation, but people just are in the mindset of their families or what they have going on, and it's not a fault of their own. So this was Friday surgery. We didn't sleep at all. He was vomiting his pain meds. And unfortunately, we just had some bad experiences. So a nurse, I just still remember her face so clearly. And again, I'm going to come back to forgiveness. So don't hate me too harshly yet. I can remember her face and like her ponytail and everything. It's so weird. And she told my son that he was faking it. And I knew, like, as a mom, I'm like, no, 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 like something's bad. Like something is not right here. So Sunday morning, Easter, I called my family. They come in. My daughter's with my parents, and I'm like curled up in a ball on the sidewalk waiting for them. And they get there outside the hospital. And I'm like, something's bad. I don't know what it is. It's bad. He has cancer. He has something. It's not good.
You were convinced it wasn't just an appendicitis.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was just like that motherly intuition,
Sure.
like even when I like looked in his eyes, like he was not looking at me, like he was going through something. So, um, they show up. They're like, we need to get him back into surgery because we think he's already gone septic. And so they take him into surgery. Yes, he's gone septic. We drain the fluid. And the surgeon came out to the whole waiting room in addition to the pediatrician. So sorry, I should back up. The only reason he went back into surgery was because a pediatrician showed up Easter morning. And I know her, and we'll come back to this, but she said, this is not okay. Like, get this boy back into surgery. So I'm so thankful for her.
So if she hadn't come, you might not have gone back into surgery then.
No, if she wasn't involved in the story, we would have lost him that night. 100%.
Wow.
Yep. So we're in the waiting room. The surgeon says, yeah, he went septic, but you can keep him here. He'll be fine. And she looked at me and she said, if this were my child, like, you get the HELL out of here right now. So we did. We took an ambulance to the next city over. He fell into a coma. Again, a huge blessing. We had a locum doctor from New York, and she was just like Johnny on the spot with everything. He was intubated the next morning. And then I told her, we're out of here. Like, they didn't have a central line to fit him. The elevator didn't fit his bed to get another CT scan. I just knew, like, okay, we need like actual help, right? And we're in a small community. Like, we don't see these things. So we are life flighted to Omaha, Nebraska, Children's Omaha. And we get there, and they had translated the incorrect levels of medication. So we get there, and he's in his coma, hooked up to all these machines. And they're like, well, he's pretty stable. So I'm just sitting there, like completely drained, watching him, all of these buttons going off. And then the entire room floods with like 20 doctors, nurses, all these alarms are going off. And I'm like, what is happening? And they're like, well, he's crashing and we don't know why. Well, because he was already almost maxed out on medication at that point, but the translation for medication was incorrect. So that's a big bummer, right? So
Putting it lightly, right?
yeah, exactly. So they kind of like, put duct tape on the situation, it feels like, and everyone leaves the room, and the ICU doctor pulls us aside and says he is maybe 30 minutes away from being put on ECMO. So he's already on a ventilator. His veins were shot. We couldn't get any blood flow because everything was too thin at that point. And they talk about
what is ECMO? Just for our listeners.
Yeah, so where a machine is going to pump the heart for you.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yep. So at that point, full life support. And they talk about this every day, so I understand that it was probably very logical to him, but he said 30 minutes from ECMO. And just so you know, the chances of him surviving after that are slim to none. And so completely shocked, we went from like, oh, I think he's stable to he's probably not going to make it, like within the matter of minutes. And so I just remember like leaving the room and running down the hallway and turning the corner where there wasn't anyone. And I laid on the floor. Like my whole body was numb. It was like one of those experiences where you feel like you can see yourself, but it's not you. Like you're not, this is not happening to me. I laid my cheek on the tile, and I remember that's all I could feel like was the cold floor. And I just kept thinking, like, this isn't possible. Like, someone wake me up. Like, the stories you see on Facebook, these horrible stories, like, that's not us. Like, we were fine an hour ago. This is not us. And so got up, went back, and we spent weeks in that state of like, there is no hope for him. So alarms going off.
Life support during that time?
So he never went on ECMO for some reason. The ICU doctors were just trying experiments. They're like, let's try this medication and see what happens, because they just didn't know. We were tested for everything under the sun. We did genetic testing. We were tested for like, oh gosh, what is it that you get from squirrels? The Black Plague. Anything you can think of, he was tested for. The only thing that came back was rotavirus. So he had rotavirus, which didn't help with the accumulation of fluid. Okay, so we're there. We spent the next 2 weeks doing this. I'm like a very private person, but within days, I knew this is bigger than me. Like, we need the prayers. We need people here supporting us. And so they actually, one of his first surgeries, because they had to go in every other day to wash him out, his organs, his internal abdominal organs had turned black, so they were gone. But the whole city stopped and prayed for him during his surgery. The whole school, the whole city, a helicopter flew over, people drew on the sidewalks. Like, the amount of community support was just beautiful. And so that was really comforting in that time. He was in the ICU every other day for weeks. And there was a point where I pulled the surgeon aside and, you're pretty much in shock still. And I'm like, what do you want from me? Do you want my organs? Like, I will give you my like, what can we do? Well, it wasn't even possible because there wasn't tissue to hold that together, even if we did have an organ transplant. But as a parent, like, you would do anything for your child. And I remember her looking at me like kind of scared, like, are you in your right mind now? And I'm like, I am actually, yes, I am. Like, if you need anything from me, take it, And so there was a point, I think during this whole time, you're like, why me? I'm angry. What can I control? What can I do? And there was a point where they told me, he is the sickest child ever to go back to our ICU. So you need to say your goodbyes. And so I leaned over him and I wouldn't let go. Like, it was one of those situations where they're pulling you off the bed. How do you say goodbye? Like, there's not enough words to say. And so he went down the hall for another washout. Those 2 hours, longest hours of my life.
Right.
During that time, I actually called my priest and completely broke. Like, everyone says they have a breaking point. I broke. And I was angry. And I was angry with him. And I'm like, why is God punishing me? Why didn't he do this to me? Is he mad because I got a divorce? Everything was going through my head. Like, why am I being punished? Why is Kellen being punished for me? And he said that's not our God. Like, our God does not punish people for mistakes or otherwise. Like, he's not accepting your sins. Bad stuff happens. Like, and in this case, it was just a series of really bad mistakes and happenings that led us here. But he said, God does provide for beauty to be had in the aftermath. And I held on to that. And we talked about control. And that was like the moment where I'm like, fine, God, this is your world. There is nothing in my world that is going to save him anymore. And so this is up to you now. So he came back, and I was always like laying over him. If he would have known how much I kissed his little face, he would have a fit right now.
He came back from the 2-hour cleanup?
Yep.
Okay.
So he came back and he made it through another surgery. And so I'm leaning over him, and I I didn't give up, I gave in, is the way I feel like it. Like you
Mm.
give it up to God, you know? And I whispered in his ear and I said, if you can't do this anymore, if this is too hard, if it's too painful, we'll be okay. And you go be a warrior with Jesus. And that was me giving up, you know? And I remember smelling him. You know, as a mom, you smell your kids all the time. I couldn't smell him anymore. It smelled like disinfectant and plastic. And it was time for me to give up control. So that was the switch in the whole story. Being angry and why and questioning and trying to fight it to this is our journey. You have control. Either way, it is in your hands. And from there forward, everything was different. My friend Marie sent me a quote from Saint Michael, and you know, he's the fisherman, and it was just so relatable to Kellen, he's an outdoorsman, and his color is green. And so I started seeing green everywhere. And in fact, people would start to wear green on the days of his surgery. Our room was green, like an experimental drug they gave him turned his urine green. Like all of the weirdest things turned green. Um, and after that, like everything was positive. So I never knew how medical people felt about religion or Jesus or anything, but we would be in the hallway. Every morning we had rounds and the whole hallway was full. And there were points, you know, where they were like, we don't know what to do. Like there's nothing else that we can do. And I would say to them, if all you do is use your hands for Jesus's work, then do that today. You know, we just created this conversation about positivity and Jesus and healing. And it's funny looking back on it now, but I was dead serious. One day I said, will you pray over his organs? Because you're right there and they're open. We just pray over his organs. And I said, you may think I'm crazy. Like, am I a lunatic? And they said, no, we talk to organs all day long. You know, surgeons are like a different breed. So they prayed over his organs. And it's just such this beautiful coming together of all of the professionals when they themselves, like the smartest people in the entire world we were consulting with, had no idea how to save him except for faith. And that's still what it is today, like a medical miracle that he survived. And so he woke up from his coma. We all heard his voice. From there, he was in and out of a coma, had to relearn how to walk, talk, eat. That was for 4 months. So we left our house, didn't come back for 4 months.
Wow.
And
What was the
then,
turning point when his organs started kind of kicking back to life? When did that happen?
yep. So that was at about 6 weeks. So in one of the every other day washouts, they came back. They always reported back, no change, no change, nothing we can do. And this time they came back and they're like, this is really weird. Don't get your hopes up. But we heard like a pulsation. But we're just letting you know, don't get your hopes up. And then the next time they're like, in the same area as the pulsation 2 days ago, there's like a little pink spot on his intestines. We don't know. Maybe nothing again, but just wanted to let you know. And then every other day when he went back, it was like, I guess they're pinking up again. Like his organs literally came back to life. They weren't functioning even. They were visually gone.
They went from black to pink again.
And we have all the pictures of it. Like it's just insane. And the body the body is so amazing. So even looking back on how his body shut down, your body is sending fluids to try and protect your organs. That's part of that whole process. But then your body will start to kill off the organs that you don't need, which is crazy. So the things that were hit the hardest, kidneys, liver, intestines, his heart was never injured and his brain was never injured. So what a blessing, you know? And then that's kind of the order that it came back. And what we learned about how amazing your body is, I mean, it's awesome.
So he
So,
never had to have any kind of transplants on any of those organs?
nope, they're all his. He was on dialysis that whole time. We still do testing for his kidneys and his liver to make sure that they're functioning, and they've improved, which they never thought that they would. Um, we had a final surgery this last June, and to just kind of seal everything up. And now, from what we know, he doesn't have any lingering issues as of now. Um, as a mom, you just always worry, what's it going to look like through adulthood and everything. But you just have to keep the faith that we're moving forward. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Oh my goodness, what a journey. How long was that from the time that he went in for that appendicitis on Good Friday to the time where
Mhm.
you guys got back home? I think you said it was 4 months.
4 months. Yep. Yep. So there was one point where he went from the ICU basically directly to a rehab facility. It's the Madonna House. Um, and I was like, I'm going to run home. Like, I want to see my dogs. I'm going to run home, get a change of clothes. It's an 8-hour drive. So I ran home, um, saw one of my good friends, woke up the next morning, and they were trying to put another chest tube in him. Like, we had issues with his lungs filling up with fluid. They had put in a chest tube. He had like 7 overtime. And every time I had to advocate for him. If you're a mother, if you're a parent going into a hospital situation, you have to advocate. It's just, they may not make it without you. It's so important. So I literally was home for a night sometime in July, I think. And right away in the morning, they're trying to put a chest tube in. And I'm like, nope, don't you dare. I'm on my way. And turned around and went back to Omaha. So it was just, I had to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. An 8-hour drive one way?
Yeah, yep. And so like the support from like my family, I mean, there were times where they would come visit. And I'm like, I think he's okay. You can leave. And then I would call and be like, nope, it's not good. And they would repack their bag and come back, like not even be home for an hour. My family's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like it. And you have a daughter also, right?
I do. Yep. Yep.
Well, you
I
have
have a daughter, and she was really, well, she was 10 at the time. So my parents helped a lot with her. And that was hard, like looking back on everything that she went through. I mean, that experience obviously will forever change her life too.
for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, okay, let's back up then. The appendicitis, was it an appendicitis or do you not know at this point?
Um, so I feel like I have to be careful legality wise, right? And throughout this whole story, the intention is not to call people out. Like, I know all of their names. If I wanted to do that, I would. The intention is for there to be change from this,
Yeah. Well,
like
and for other people
professional.
to be aware so that they
Yeah.
can an advocate for their children or their loved ones.
Yeah, yeah. And for professionals to know your job's really serious. I don't want your job. Like, I handle people's money. I don't want to handle their health. Like, that's crazy.
It's a big, very difficult job for sure. And there's so many things like we were just talking about, so many things that could go wrong. How does any one person know? So
Right.
mistakes are gonna happen, but
Yep.
how do we partner with them to help them see things that maybe they're not seeing? And that's an
Yep.
important role that we have to play in that process.
And establish processes. Like, I'm all about the hospital having better processes. Like, if oxygen level continues to dip below 80, we send you on to the next facility that should be handling this, like things like that. So it's arguable if he actually had appendicitis or not. There was like a tiny piece of fecal matter, which could have been causing some of the pain on the appendix. But the surgeon actually lied about the quality of the appendix. So I demanded that it be sent to Omaha. They're like, we actually don't mail organs. I'm like, well, you do now.
Yeah.
So let's just get that thing here. It went from his story that it was, black and completely dead to there was just a tiny piece of fecal matter. It may or may not have needed to come out. So um there's so many things along the way that we could have held on to and been angry about and placed blame to multiple people. And that's maybe where we transition. It has been a journey of forgiveness. So yeah, if you want to talk about that. Okay.
Yeah, because those are some deep wounds.
Yeah.
when you get a false diagnosis or when you get false treatment. I have met some sweet, sweet souls who actually their entire illness was due to a medication that they were given that was a false diagnosis medication. So, how did you navigate through that anger and the frustration and the wrong diagnoses, the wrong things that were done in the process? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have to disclose that my son survived and he's healthy and he's wonderful. And
Amen. Hooray. Thank you.
not yeah, not everyone has that outcome. So how I share how I got through that, it may not apply to someone who actually lost their child. And I can't even imagine. I would like to think that I would still be able to forgive, but I'm not here to say that I would be able to. I mean, we have a positive ending, and that's not always the case. Um, okay, so for forgiving people, this took me a really, really long time. And it wasn't until that experience that I forgave a lot of people in my past. So even going back before this, um, I was in a very unhealthy relationship. And I realized during that experience with my son, like there was something in me that like took flight or fight mode, right? I took the fight. And that's like always something that I've kind of done. And I think I attribute that to my mom. Like if there's a loud noise in the school building, she runs to it instead of running out of the school. She's just a fighter. And so I realized in that there's something in me that like I'm able to stand up to the surgeon and say, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing another chest tube, or stand up to the geneticist and be like, you're not doing that medication again. He suffered from that. And I realized that that person who was abusive in my past couldn't do that. Like under points of pressure, under points of standing up to authority, like that person crumbled. And I realized most people that are hurtful to others, it comes from a place of insecurity. And that's why they hurt people, because they're trying to build themselves up by tearing others down. So it's not like hurt people hurt people. I get that. But like in my experience, insecure people hurt people. So that was huge for me for forgiveness. And then accepting that person. So realizing that during that health experience with my son allowed me to forgive those people along the way, because you never know. Okay, it was Easter weekend. Who knows what that surgeon had going on at home in his personal life? The nurses that kept turning off his oxygen alarm, maybe it was their first night on shift. I don't know. Um, the head charge nurse that said he was faking it, maybe she had a really long 12-hour shift of very naughty children. Like you just don't know. And I think there should just be room and grace for people to make mistakes. And so this process, so accept people for who they are, forgive, but not forget. Because if you forget, you're allowing yourself to be exposed to that again. And then move on and like regain your power, whatever you need to do that that person took away from you, move forward. Because if you don't, it's not bothering them anymore. You're the one hanging on to it. And it's just keeping that power over yourself.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been my process. I continue to have challenging times, I mean, everyone does. And whether it's work or friendships or relationships or unfaithful spouses or partners, when I left my corporate firm, there was a lot of ugliness in that from a really good friend and mentor.
Mm.
And it took me another advisor to sit down because I was hurt, and he said, okay, but that's coming from a place of insecurity from him. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting my own rule. Like, yes, for some reason he's insecure about me leaving the firm and has to, say bad things. And I accept that. I accept that for some reason you're doing it. I'm going to forgive you. Not going to forget, but now I'm going to move on.
Yeah. And the forgiveness in those cases is not for that other person. And it's not saying that you're forgiving them and it's okay. You're
No, no.
saying that you're not going to let that issue control or oppress you anymore. So it's like cutting off a chain that's dragging behind you. It's like, no, I'm not going to allow that to hold on to me anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's a good point because it's not like accepting to be a pushover or ignoring things. No, that's not the point. It's like just accept it, move on. You're probably going to find other people to be around and better situations to be around. And the really ironic thing that I've come to realize is if we give people these tools to overcome that and move on and gain back their power from those people that are hurting you, it doesn't matter anymore. Like they don't get to hurt people anymore, you know?
Yeah,
It takes away that power. It's the biggest irony in the entire thing. And I hope that if anything, people can take that from this.
exactly. We actually do have power to say, no, I'm not going to let it hurt me anymore.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter what you say. You can keep saying bad things, but I'm just going to let it bounce off me because I'm not going to let it bother me anymore.
Right. Yeah.
That's a hard place to get to. That's a journey to
Yeah.
get to that place. You and your whole family have been on a huge journey, Melissa, to
Mhm.
just get through that whole process, including your business transition to an entrepreneur, solo entrepreneur, but also that whole transition, that whole process with your son and with Kellen getting really close to death and then
Mhm.
coming back. What an amazing
Mhm.
story. I'm so grateful that God's
Yeah.
plan had it for him to be returned to you.
Yeah. No, and that's the beautiful thing. Like in life, every single thing can be a glass half empty or a glass half full. I mean, we had the choice from there. Positive direction or the negative direction. And life is so much better after that. And even these other things that have come up, which have been really hard since then, like the aftermath is always so much more beautiful if you can get there, you know? And
Mhm.
that's the hard part is getting there, but we're happier, we're closer, we just view things differently. As that translates to business, you know, I had very few clients compared to my over 1,000 clients before because I actually love them. And
Mhm.
anytime I'm going to spend away from my children, like I have to love you to spend time with, you know, and some people might think that's selfish, but they're my priority. So work has to be meaningful. And I like to think that I'm helping other people improve their lives too.
Absolutely. Well, and if you're loving what you do and you're loving the people you work with, they're actually filling your bucket. So when you do
Yeah.
finish your day, you've got more to give back to your kids.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, life is just awesome. And it doesn't mean that it's not hard. So I have to share something I've been doing every morning. I've been through a lot of therapy, and I think therapy definitely has its place. But one thing I do in the morning is I used to wake up and think of the 500 things I do so that like by 8 o'clock I had tried to conquer the world. I think a lot of us do that. But like I just pause and put my hand over my heart and take deep breaths and try and think of at least 5 things I'm grateful for. And it's crazy. Usually there's a lot more than 5. So you just keep going. You're grateful for that friend that texts you to go to Pilates. Like you're grateful for, the client who came in and trusted you to help their family. You're grateful for your kids and the card that they made you. Like there's so many things throughout the day to be grateful for. And that one thing I think has truly changed how I view things throughout the day. It may sound silly, just try it, but it is insane how it will change your outlook on life.
I love that. Starting the day with gratitude. It's like putting a pair of sunglasses on. You can put the dark, bad ones on, or you
Right.
can put the gratitude glasses on and you can look through everything in your life through the glass half full and what positive things you're going to bring into the world that day. And that's a great way of looking at it.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I am so grateful for your time. And especially since you said you don't like to spend time away from your kids except with people you love. So that
Oh,
means I'm one of those.
absolutely. You're amazing. No, I've really loved getting to know you. And I mean, just think of the gratitude of us just by happenstance meeting each other through this online program.
Yes,
Like with women that now I speak to every week that are some of my best friends. But
agreed.
I mean, there's just great things all over us if you take advantage of them.
Yeah.
The
There
recognition.
are amazing people out there to connect with. If you don't have someone, anybody listening out there, if you don't have someone amazing in your life, find someone amazing. There are so many. And just
Yeah.
all those different social media sites can be like a spiral down. But if you look for it, they can also be a spiral up and bring you to some amazing friends and connections. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So,
Well, if anyone wanted to reach out to you, Melissa, to just find out more about your wealth management services or kind of if they have a situation and maybe they wanted to see what kinds of things you were doing in navigating those health questions, could they
yeah.
reach out to you directly? How would they
Oh,
do that?
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So you can go to my website and it's hamptonwm.com. And I have a free estate planning checklist on there. So it's going to walk you through the steps, give you a little bit of education about, will versus trust, the important people who you should recognize to help in those times, and then action steps along the way that you can actually fill out and take with you to your attorney appointment. So that's hamptonwm.com/estate planning checklist. We
Okay.
will we'll put it in the notes for you. Okay. Also, if you're curious or you're like, hey, I'm just ready to talk to you, great. On my website, one click button, you can schedule a call with me. If you just need help in the estate planning portion of your financial plan, great. We'll limit it to that and I'll walk you through that. What we do in that scenario is we put all your assets into our fancy program so that the state flow pictures and analysis can then be taken to your attorney so that they have a better idea of what to prepare when they speak with you. And I usually do that in contact with your attorney. And I love sitting in on that appointment because, for one, I learned so much. I get to know you better and I can be an advocate for you later when you have questions about that appointment because it is a lot. So today, those are like super simple steps you can take. Start your estate planning journey, get a referral for an estate attorney. Go get my checklist and yeah, we'll get you taken care of.
I love that. Thank you so much. That's wonderful. Well, Melissa, thank you so much for your time and just letting us peek into your world a little bit and hear a little bit more about your family story and your business story, both of which I think are really inspiring and very encouraging. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I hope that it helps someone else going through these situations. And I've not been brave enough to share this before, but I realize it is such a powerful story and journey that I hope it can change other people's outcomes. So,
I'm sure.
yeah, thank you, Lisa.
Thank you so much. Have a great end of your week.
Okay, you too. All right. Bye.
Bye. Melissa has such a powerful story, and her resilience to stay tenacious through all of it and stay focused and strong in her faith through the whole process is really encouraging and inspiring. I have 7 beautiful takeaways for you today. Number 1, ownership and legacy really matter. Working for someone else meant Melissa had no lasting legacy for her family. Owning her own business gave her freedom and control, impact, and really meaning. If you have a little seed of an idea that you have in your heart to build a business, today might be a great day to do something to help that seed grow. It doesn't have to be huge, complicated, or difficult. Just choose one thing that you can do to nurture that idea and help it take root, because it will pay dividends far beyond what you could ever imagine. Number 2, health and wealth are intertwined. Melissa's financial plan is really what enabled her to pay for her son's $3 million+ battle. Her planning allowed her to access life-saving care when it really mattered most. So, given her reminder for us, it might be time for all of us to broaden our reason for working and to reconsider our motivation for having a financial plan. That plan that we put together might help us be equipped and ready for that thing, that interruption that you don't even know is yet coming. So take some time to put a plan together, and maybe Melissa is someone that can help you do that. Number 3, trust your gut and advocate relentlessly. As a mom, Melissa's instincts saved her son's life more than once. Being an active advocate in the medical system is really critical for your health, for the health of your parents, for your little ones, and for our friends too. Our doctors are amazing, and they are asked to do far more than they really can do in today's medical structure. So they need us to partner with them and to help them see the nuances of us and our loved ones that they can't see, things that only we know. So be courageous, my friends, and step into that process. Don't be afraid to ask questions and to arrive with your own research in hand and be equipped to partner with your doctor. Understand what's happening and why it's happening. These steps will serve you well and might just save your life. Number 4, miracles still happen. Remember Melissa's son's organs? They were black, dead, and gone. But they came back to life. Little by little, they came back to life and turned pink again, which still remains a medical unexplained mystery. But Melissa attributed that healing to the community of support she had, the prayers and all the persistence of hope that she and so many others had that her son would heal fully. Prayer, my friend, is powerful, and those prayers will often lead us to miracles that might just remain a mystery forever. Number 5, forgiveness and empathy are powerful. Melissa reminded us about the power of forgiveness and empathy, not just for the medical staff, but also for her own past wounds, and to understand that the mistakes that happened were made by real human beings. People who have their own lives, their own pressures, their own struggles, their lack of sleep and experiences, and life to be mindful of. Melissa talked about remembering that sometimes people who are hurt do hurt other people, and sometimes people who are insecure or low in their own self-esteem can stomp on others just to make them feel more powerful in their own right. It's not an excuse, but it's helpful to understand where some of that behavior might be coming from. Don't let somebody else's weakness or their own insecurities drag you down. Let it go and move on. Number 6, faith in the fire. At her breaking point, Melissa gave in. She didn't give up, but she gave in. She gave in to God's control and God's plan and left the outcome to Him. And that, she says, is when everything changed. Melissa's story is a testimony to surrender control, to lean into God's strength, and to let Him transform the journey, trusting His plan, however scary the potential outcomes might be. And number 7, gratitude is a daily reset. Melissa now has a great call to action for herself and a good reminder for all of us to implement a simple gratitude practice. It has reshaped her entire outlook and is now part of her daily routine that keeps her grounded and in the present and helps her truly appreciate all the many blessings that she has. Gratitude, my friends, equips us to handle the many stresses of our day. Gratitude gives you sunshine, if you will, even in the darkest of storms. Thanks for that great reminder, Melissa. And thank you for joining me today. If you would, please share this episode because, again, you never know what encouragement might be in our conversation that someone else needs to hear. So pass it along, share it, like it, and if you would, please subscribe. Let's continue to flood the world with more encouragement. Until next time, my friends, stay encouraged, be inspired, and I'll see you next time right here at the Sunshine Cafe.